Hey, this is Henry with Keep You Mobile. I'm going to be wearing this kind of a ridiculous headset today because the audio that I have been recording on hasn't been the best audio, and audio's been going through a webcam, and decided I'm not going to use the webcam. I'm going to scoot it a little bit further away so you guys have a little bit wider angle of what I'm doing. I can move those webcam as well. I'm going to get a couple more cameras in here so you guys can check out kind of the floor here, or the table that I'm working on, so you guys can see the components a little bit closer. Do have the microscope still hooked up, so you guys will be able to see that under the microscope. I've got a customer that brought in a Samsung Galaxy Note 4. He has been having issues with it not powering on. It wouldn't power on at all. It's given him a whole lot of issues on charging, will not charge, will not power on at all. So we kind of assumed it was the max power chip that's on it. Not for certain, but once I got it under the microscope, I realized that a whole bunch of components had been moved around, so it almost looks like the chip has been messed with before. Let me go ahead and change this camera view here and get you guys onto me. So it looks like it has been messed with before. I don't know if they tried reballing the max chip that's on it, which is the power distribution chip that controls the battery, as well as the charging on it, because it will not come on even if you plug it in and try to charge it. So I'm going to give you guys a look at this. I don't know how well you guys will be able to see this up close. So that's where the power chip goes, is right here, and it is missing because I did pull the old one off of it, and was going to try to just do a swap on it, but once I get into looking at it, some of these components, it looks like somebody's been in here before. Actually, for sure, I know somebody's been in here before. It's pretty tore up. So let's go ahead and switch over to the microscope view here. And I'm going to put this board underneath the microscope, and I'm going to show you guys right where that power chip goes. And if you can see, let me back this out here really quick. Well, let's zoom in. So let me back out here, and let's go ahead and put this into focus. You can see right where the power chip is that I removed it. But if you can see these components that are right here, there's a component missing from here. There is, let me go ahead and switch that straight over to the microscope where you guys aren't seeing me at all. Let's go ahead and do that. There we go. That works a whole lot better. So there's components that are knocked off here. Go ahead and scoot this into closer. There's a component that is missing here. It looks like these two pads right here would be for these two caps that are right here. Well, one of them looks like a cap. The other one could be a diode or something. This component right here is sideways. This one's a little sideways. We're missing one right here, down here, right where my tweezers are on top of. And if you can see this hunk of mess right here, this is all one big huge solder ball. So these are all connected together, and then as you can see, the connector for the power has had some heat. You can already see where it's kind of burnt and crusty right here. And the other tall tale sign that somebody has tried doing a repair on this, if you can look right here, this is flux. So I can move this with my tweezers and pull this up. So this is all flux that has not been washed off of the board. So none of it was tried to be ultrasonic cleaned. Whenever I pulled the max chip off, I pulled it off without using flux. I just went ahead and just used my heat gun on that and pulled that off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys the max chip that I've got. It was a previously used max chip, and I reballed it. Myself, it came off a Samsung Galaxy S6 that actually could be working, but this gentleman needs the phone back as soon as possible. so I didn't have a whole lot of time to order any of the chips in, so I just went ahead and pulled this one off and reballed it, and I'll just replace that as it comes in. So I went ahead and let me get this one into frame a little bit better. Let me go ahead and get a good focus on this and show you. I've reballed this one, so this one's in actually really good condition. I know it was working because I'd played around with the S6. It had a busted screen on it, so I went ahead and played around with it beforehand. So what we're going to do today is we're going to try to clean up those components that are on the board on this Note 4. Once we get those components cleaned up, then we're going to try and putting that max chip on it. The only thing that I don't like doing working on previously worked on stuff is you don't know if they've damaged anything else on the board or if that's the only thing that they had messed with. So that was my soldering iron kicking on and let me know it's up to temperature. So what I'm going to do is I want to flip this board over, and we're going to look at the back side of it just to make sure that nothing else has gotten too hot on the back side, because there's a lot of these pins right here that push down once the case is put onto the phone. And let's see if you can see that pin that I'm pushing down on real quick. So if you can see that pin, these push it down as after you get the case put onto the phone. So I want to look around and make sure nothing else is fallen off of the board, that nothing else looks like it's been damaged. So I'm just going to graze over the bottom side of this board. I don't see anything here. It would be kind of a cool little thing to show you real quick. This right here is the is your rear sensor and your rear flash for the camera. It'll be right here. So this is your flash for the camera, and this is your rear sensor as well, and your IR sensor. So if you ever have to do something, changing, a TV channel or something like that, they generally use IR sensors right in this area. It still has some of the adhesive around where the camera bevel went, the little rubber bevel on the camera, and it doesn't seem to be bad. There's no traces burnt. The chips that are on board seem like they're fine. Don't know if that's solder paste. No, they're using a little bit of some compound there to keep these chips in place. So that's perfectly normal. So let's go ahead and flip this back over, and we're going to realign some of these components. I'm going to use a mixture. Oh wow, look at this little guy right here. I didn't see this until just now. Let's see. Let me get this back in focus here. Look at this little guy. See that little guy there just hanging out? I don't even know where that little guy goes. So I don't know if this is going to be I don't know. This is probably going to be a two-part video. Look at that. He's just loose, just flapping around there in the breeze. So I'll go ahead and pull him off. I am not exactly sure where he goes, so I'm going to have to pull the schematics on this. So this may be a little bit longer of a video. There may be two parts to this, so it may be just one that I'm pulling components off and getting it cleaned up. And then there may be a video of me going ahead and resoldering all this stuff and back onto the board. So without further ado, let's go ahead and remove these components here that are just kind of all in the mix here. Let's go ahead and remove these, and we will go ahead and remove this big huge solder blob that's right here with more flux that's around it. I'm going to go ahead and Kapton tape this connector because I don't want to damage this at all. So I'm almost leery of using hot air around this because this is just a plastic piece here. Let me go ahead and zoom out so you guys can get a bigger shot, so I don't have to worry about things being in camera view. What I see through my microscope is a little bit different than what you guys will see. I've got a broader range visualization in my microscope than what you guys will see on the screen here. But this is all, just a hard plastic. It's It will withstand a little bit of heat, but not a whole lot of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove this big old huge solder blob and see maybe if we can get that to separate without having to remove this component and this one here. But we are going to remove these two and get these pads cleaned up because there is something missing here as well. There's something missing here, and I believe there's something missing down here. So we're just going to pull these off. We'll look at the schematics and see what components go where. And we'll replace the ones that are missing, and we'll fix the ones that that we can get to just right off the bat here. So let me go ahead and grab my iron. I'm going to go ahead and use a curved pencil tip on this. I don't know if this is going to work. We're going to try to make this work. If it doesn't, I'm going to try to use the tweezers to see if we can pull some of those smaller components off, so that way we don't the less amount of heat that you have on a component, the better off it is, and the less chances you have of damaging that component, because you can damage it by having too much heat on it. So I'm just going to put some flux on here. We're going to heat this whole area up. And let me move this down here in camera view for you guys. I'm sorry you guys couldn't see that. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm just going to kind of go over this area here. I'm just going to check all the pads here on this. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and touch up this and see if I can get some of this solder to come off onto on the tip of the soldering iron here. Let's see if I can remove some of this. It doesn't look like a whole lot wants to come off. It looks like they gunked that pretty on there pretty good. So I may go ahead and pull those components just so I can just redo this and make sure that nothing else happened here. I'm going to go ahead and hit this pad. I'm going to hit this one. Go ahead and hit that one and that one. So make those, go ahead and make those, as Jessa would say, nice and fluffy. Go ahead and make those fluffy. Go ahead and go over these just to get some oxidation off of that chip. This one looks okay, but I'm going to go ahead and straighten this one back out here in just a little bit. It may not be on this video that I straighten it back out, but I'll straighten that back out soon. So I'm going to go ahead and go over those pads as well, and let's go ahead and switch over to the tweezers. I'm using a Hacko FM203 that comes with a hot tweezer set, which is very handy if you're doing a lot of micro soldering stuff. It's a handy set to have. I'll kind of show you that up close if I can get this on camera. These are hot tweezers, so they are micro tweezers that get extremely hot, and you can just kind of grab components on both sides of it. So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to put this in camera view. Can you guys see that? Yeah. That'd be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and put this in camera view. I'm going to go ahead and remove these components that are here. I'm going to try not to tear them up too bad. So I'm going to have to look at the schematics and figure out what value these components are and figure out exactly where they go, because I don't know if they've been knocked off from across the board or where. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that component off. I'm going to use my tweezers here to just rake that off of the end of my thing. I'm going to go ahead and keep these components up here in a little square space that I've got, so that way I don't lose them. I don't want to lose any of these components. I've got more to replace it with, but the more that you can reuse, the better. So I think this is going to be another one right here that's all wonky and sideways. So I'm going to heat this up pretty good. Let it sit on there for a minute. And I don't want to rip the pads off, so I'm going to be very careful on how I get that off there. I'm going to use my tweezers again and go ahead and pull that component off of there. Set this over here on my little pad, and it looks like that is clean now, so I can just go over this with my tweezers real quick. I guess I got to adjust those tips on it because they're not coming together like they should. So let's switch back to the other soldering iron. Let's clean this tip off real quick. You want to keep the tip of these as clean as you can on your soldering irons, because they will oxidize, and it creates a huge problem with solder wanting to stick to the tip. So every once in a while it's a good idea to grab some leaded solder and go ahead and just place it on the tip and let it sit there for just a second so it kind of retins that tip. The solder that I use does have flux built inside of the solder. It's a flux core solder. So that means inside of the solder it does have flux in the solder itself, so it just makes for a shinier tip, and it helps the tips last a whole lot longer on these tips for these soldering irons, because these things aren't cheap. You're looking at about probably 30-40 bucks for a tip. And I'm just going to clean these pads really quick. It's probably not as clean as they'll get. I'm just kind of getting all the old stuff off. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more paste down. Actually, going to help clean this area up really good. So actually what I think I'll do, I will do this probably in a couple different parts. I'm going to go ahead and just clean these pads up. Right now it's actually, it's a little past 9 o'clock right now, so pulled a late day here. Got here at 9 o'clock this morning, and it is 9 o'clock at night, so yay for salary. But I'm going to go ahead and just clean this up. I'm going to go ahead and walk this tip back along this this component here and see if I can clean that up a little bit. I don't want to leave a whole lot of unspoken solder for. Let me focus in, see if that makes it a little bit better for you guys to see here. So you can see this big glob of solder that's joining these two components together. I don't know if it's going to hurt or not, but I'd rather not take the chance of that messing up something or causing a short. So whenever I go to test this, I don't want it messing anything up. So I'd rather go ahead and just get rid of it now and not have that joining together. So that is off of there. This pad, these pads are all kind of cleaned up. This would be for a shielding that would go over it. There's another portion of the shielding, just making sure none of that's touching any of these components. I don't know if that looks like that's been ripped off of there. When I got this phone, this shielding had already been detached from the main board itself. So everything else on this looks pretty good, besides the components that we just pulled off. So the pads are clean now, and I'll straighten that little booger out later. This is ready for that max power chip to go back on, so we'll solder that back on there. So I just wanted to shoot a quick video on getting this cleaned up and ready to go. In prepping it, we're going to check this solder connection here, and it doesn't take long at all. We could actually probably check that now. Let me put some solder back on the tip of my iron here, let that set with that solder on there so it doesn't oxidize. Go ahead and do that same with the micro tweezers. Go ahead and just put some solder on the tips of these, and that just keeps your tip of your iron from oxidizing and saves the tip life. So let's take a pretty sharp pair of tweezers here. I want to come at it at this angle. I'm just going to kind of go over it. I might use a cotton swab and some alcohol just to see if I broke that connection in between these two. Since I use that flux, it's going to be a little hard to tell. So let's pull out a cotton swab and some alcohol, and let's clean this up a little bit. It looks like I got that connection taken care of, but we'll go over here and clean this really well. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and clean this whole area. So we've got that one component. Let's see now. Let's go ahead and we'll hit this with a can of a compressed air. Let me grab my can. Or do I have a can sitting out right now? I'll just grab a new one. So we'll grab this, hit this with some compressed air after I peel this tab off to keep me from doing it. So let's look under here. So as you can see, after I blew most of that flux away, I did break that connection between these two components here. Got my other tweezers. So I did break the connection between these two, so that's clear now. Everything else looks good. These solder pads over here look nice and clean now. So just making sure you guys can see that. The pads for the max chip looks good. The pads over here, these look good as well. Like I said, I'll fix that little doodad just because it's bugging me and it's sitting crooked. So we'll fix that on the next stream. So what we'll do, I'll get this a little bit more cleaned up, and then on the next stream we will do putting these components back on this board and repopulating back over in here. And then we'll put the max chip on after we put these components over here too that we're missing as well. So thank you guys for joining me on this video. I know I'm posting this one probably a little late. Going to try to do a live stream on the next one whenever I put these components back on. So if you guys would like, and comment down below, please let me know if you guys want to see longer videos, shorter videos, or if you like them broke up into these different segments, or if you guys want them as just one continuous video. What I like showing about people on the live videos and doing the live streams is that I am confident in the job that we do here. I'm confident in my skills, so I'm not worried. Yes, there will be accidents that happen sometimes, but generally most of the time I'm pretty good at what I do. And there's unforeseen things that do happen, but for most of the part, I'm confident on what I do. So I don't mind doing a live stream. I can fix stuff right here on camera. I don't doctor any of my videos or anything to swap out a main board and be like, oh look, it's fixed now, and when it really wasn't. So if you guys want to see more live streams, please definitely like, share, comment down below. Give me a comment, thumbs up on the video if you like the video. Tell me what I can change about it. Tell me how you guys want to see these videos in the future. It'll be helpful for me and helpful for you guys. If I can keep your attention, you guys like it, and we'll keep it up and keep going. But I just wanted to show you guys kind of what we do behind the scenes that keep you mobile. You're not going to find anybody in this area that does micro soldering like we do here. So we take care of our customers, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. So please, like I said, like, share, subscribe, comment down below, and let me know what you guys want to see. So until tomorrow, I'll see you guys again.